Joining me now for a closer look at what's playing itself out in that market scene is Andrew Padoa from Stats and Wealth. Andrew, a pleasure and a good afternoon to you.
Thanks, Nolly. Good to be back.
Brilliant. Andrew, let's get right into it. A new week. It's a quiet day today, but that's just not how it's going to be by the end of the week, is it?
No, not at all. The JC's had a nice little bump the last few weeks. The Rand's come back a bit. I know the Rand's not at 1808 like it was last week, but still close to best levels for the year. Today, it's kind of muted. Banks and retailers down a bit. Nothing going on that's really major. But yeah, let's wait and see till Wednesday.
We also do know lots of data to come out later this week, that US inflation expected to be out. I think also some data expected out of China. We'll just continue on this Fed watch here, Andrew. It looks like it's just how things are until things will change. We don't know when that will be.
Yeah, inflation and interest rates are definitely, playing a major role in markets this year. We've got the MPC committee meeting, I think, on Thursday. Election results won't be out before then, but we're unlikely to see any rate cuts in South Africa, not this week and maybe not for the next couple of months. So yeah, let's see how things play out this week for South Africa. So we've got elections and MPC meeting on Thursday.
Sounds like a lot happening. Also, lots happening on the company news front today. Pick n Pay, I think, the big one for, the one we see today. I'm keen to get your thoughts. I mean, the first news, I think the big news is the stepping away of the Ackerman family. What do we make of that? And maybe even the admission from the Ackerman family that it is in the best interest of the company for them to step aside.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Maybe it is time for some changes. The results were no good at all. And Pick n Pay have got to do some things very quickly. If we just look at their debt levels, just to point, the one thing out, debt levels were last year at 3.7 billion. They're now at 6 billion. They paid 700 million rand just on interest repayments. So they're frantically trying to get on top of this to get the debt under control. So you've got the Boxer being spun out. They haven't declared a dividend, and they obviously got the rights offer that's imminent. So there's a lot going on. Look, I'm rooting for them. I hope they can turn it around, but they've got some serious challenges ahead.
I think what was also comforting here, Andrew, is just the CEO admitting that this would have to be a multi-year strategy, that it's just not a short-term fix. But what is also then concerning is the fact that while they're in this fixing mode, their competitors are flying.
Yeah, look, ShopRite is just absolutely dominating. I think Spar's also been under a bit of pressure the last couple of months. They've also got their own challenges they've got to face. So, while this is going on with Pick n Pay and Spar, ShopRite are just, charging ahead.
Interesting times indeed. Let's also chat on Tiger Brands. What we saw there is an 11% increase in HEPS, but we did see revenue falling. Now, we know that their products are often characterized as premium, and this is just not the market for premium goods, hence Boxer doing so well for Pick n Pay at this time.
Yeah. So Tiger Brands, in their own words, they describe their results as muted. They're undergoing some leadership transitions and implementing turnaround strategies, kind of like what Pick n Pay is doing at the moment. But I think the reality is it's tough out there. AVR mentioned it, and AVR is, their big rival. AVR mentioned in last year's annual report, it was a really great line. They said it's difficult to create growth in an environment where no growth exists. And I think that's we're seeing this quite a lot with a lot of JSE companies.
What also interesting is Barlow World, not a better report for this company as well, also speaking to muted growth, also speaking to the macros.
Yeah, so Barlow World revenue and headline earnings both down 8%. Similar story to Tiger Brands and Pick n Pay. It's, again, it's just tough out there. These results were unaudited, so we don't have a lot of info. So we'll wait for the official results to come out, and then we've got, we can break it down a bit further.
What is also interesting, I guess, is what we're seeing with a dividend. Barlow World still declared one. So did Tiger Brands. Of course, Pick n Pay was in no position, I think, to do so. And I'm wondering how shareholders might receive that even though this is a tough market and, growth is muted, these companies are still trying to reward them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Good on the companies for trying. But we've got to see some organic revenue growth. We've got to see top line growth, because at the end of the day, we can pay dividends for a while, but if we don't get that earnings growth, that dividend's not going to be sustainable for any company, really.
I'm also keen to get your thoughts on what we might be seeing later this week with BHP and Anglos. We want to forget about it, but it's kind of in the back of our heads because, there's so much at stake for us South Africans with what happens with this deal, Andrew.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I know Billiton, we're big fans of Billiton as a company at Sasfin. Anglos, it's interesting that they're only really trying to do a kind of some restructuring now within the business once Billiton has come to the table asking, for a big deal. So let's see how it goes. So yeah, it's a big week for South Africa.
Another interesting one, I think, just linking what we've had this conversation about today, Andrew, with muted, results coming out of many of our companies. And then this interest rate trajectory here. I'm wondering if markets are anticipating cuts to boost stocks, to boost companies. Do you think that this is something that might play into the minds of the MPC at this point?
I think the MPC's focus on is making sure inflation remains under control, because you don't want a Turkey and an Argentina situation where inflation blows up and then the price of goods are going up daily. That's a worst case scenario. So I don't think the MPC are really worried about companies, the JSE companies, and how they're going to perform. Their job is to make sure inflation stays under control.
And then also keen to, you've commented on the Rand elections. Are we expecting that will reflect in the Rand this week? Any fluctuations, markets maybe using that to represent their sentiment?
So I was quite surprised with how the Rand got to 1808 last week, just in the build-up to elections. I've chatted to a few people that are far smarter than me in the currency space, and they think the ANC partnering with EFF or ANC partnering with MK, that seems very unlikely now. So that's likely why you've seen the Rand strengthen a bit the last couple of weeks. But who knows what will happen? Let's see what happens on Wednesday.
Absolutely, Andrew. I'm keen to get your stock pick, but first, I'd like us to reflect on counters that have found favor with your industry peers.
I've been combing through the SA Inc. stocks because we've already started seeing the SA Inc. trade into and post-elections become the consensus trade.
Yep.
And we've seen a lot of these stocks run quite hard already, but there have been a few laggards, particularly when we look at the large cap space. So everyone's been looking at the mid caps. The mid caps have been doing well, even the small caps, the retailers, the banks. But what about poor Bidvest? So we have started seeing a little bit of a recovery from Bidvest, but it still trades at a pretty cheap multiple currently. I think that this could be one of the companies that actually gets a lot of flow in a post-election scenario.
I'm picking NVIDIA. NVIDIA, of course, with their great results, the 10-1 split, and also, the monopoly they have. It is a great company, and that's what I'm picking today.
All right, Andrew, keen to get your thoughts on those, SA Inc. and NVIDIA.
Okay, so let's start with the SA Inc. At Sasfin, we're playing the long game, and we continue to have a lot of exposure offshore, to offshore markets. That's where we see the growth being. But on the SA Inc. side, I think you've got to be super selective. Chantal mentioned Bidvest, and I definitely think Bidvest is one of the stocks I would consider if I was forced to be on the JSE. And with Odwa's NVIDIA pick, look, if you look at the results from the big tech guys, the Metas, the Alphabets, the Microsofts, the Amazons, and you look at what they're spending on CapEx, it's billions and billions of dollars. And most of this is going to NVIDIA's GPU chips. So yeah, I like Bidvest, I like NVIDIA. Yeah, good picks.
With that said, which counter are you loving this Monday afternoon?
Okay, so my stock pick today is Visa. I was reminded last week of a great Warren Buffett quote, and it goes as follows: there are no extra points for degree of difficulty in investing. An annualized 12% return in dollars, whether you spend 3 months trying to figure out if a turnaround story is going to work or trying to figure out if an economy is going to turn around. Alternatively, you can just stick to a quality compounder with decades track record, virtually no competition, operating in a secular tailwind. And that can still give you that 12% annualized return. I'd much rather go with that quality compounder every day of the week, and that is exactly what Visa is.
Brilliant. Andrew, thank you for getting the week going for us. Have a fantastic one. That was your Midday Markets Update with Sasfin Wealth's Andrew Padoa.